Is this the disrespectful one?
Disrespectful. I thought I had more time. The time change, it got me. I thought it was 5 o'clock.
No, you liar. You are such a liar.
Fuck.
Yeah, all your shit is digital. Don't even tell me. You can't. You're not even smart enough to read a regular clock, anyways. Get the fuck out of here.
What's going on, buddy?
Nothing. I'm over here having
I'm ready to go.
I'm having my shots already because I'm like, because this guy said 6 o'clock and at 10 after, here we are finally, Mister.
I'm going Captain Morgan Black Rum today.
All right, well shoot it because I already did one.
Ready?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm doing my second.
Mood. So I should go back to back, is what you're saying?
Yeah, because I just did my second
All right, hold on.
straight Tito's one.
Hold on.
All right, yeah, right?
Yeah.
You good there?
No.
I did a rum and Dr. Pepper again.
Oof. Yeah, I have a rum and Dr. Pepper myself.
No shit, huh?
Yeah, you know what though? It's not a bad drink.
I know. That's why I'm having it again.
Drink.
That's why I'm doing it again.
Yeah. So woo.
Oh,
my nose is burning. I don't know why.
I might go to a liquor store this week and grab some other stuff. I think I'm gonna go with a Fireball and a.
How did we become alcoholics while doing this podcast? How did this even happen?
Well, I don't think we're alcoholics. Do you drink other than the show? I don't.
I'm not gonna lie. I drank a half a bottle of wine Friday night and a half a bottle of wine Saturday night, so
yeah,
could be a problem.
Yeah, half a bottle of wine is not a problem. Ask those housewives; they'll let you know.
Yeah.
You know, they're like a bottle and a half of wine and a couple of mother's little helpers, as they would say in the Rolling Stones song. You know, you're fine for now.
I'm good. Okay.
Yeah.
So I figured that we would. I thought about this afternoon, and I said, you know what, I have faith in him. He's gonna pull this off. I don't even have to tell him. I thought you would have on Sean Prime, Marco on today to talk about him and Gator B. Boone's match or whatever they did yesterday. I thought we would have him on today.
Hold on, we wouldn't have needed him if. Okay, let me just let's take a step backwards here. I want to just preface this with I am the pettiest of petty people when it comes to this.
Yes, we know.
When it comes to this type of thing, especially, I am the pettiest of the petty. And if I smell this coming, if I even sense this coming, I give people more than enough rope to hang themselves. So let me backtrack for before BM, either before Marco, which also appropriately stands for bowel movement, which is what I think of Marco these days, just a big bowel movement. But let's backtrack to me seeing a friend that you met. Remember at WrestleMania, the girl from Boston that I've known forever?
Right.
Remember? And
yeah, I know who she is, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I caught wind that she was coming to Fort Lauderdale this last weekend. Not this weekend, but last weekend. Right? I don't say a word because she knows I live down here. I'm waiting to hear and go, hey, I'm going to be in Fort Lauderdale. Let's grab a drink or get lunch one day while I'm here, yada, yada. But I know. I smell it coming. I know the disrespect is coming. I know that the pretend I'm here without letting Ben know I'm here kind of thing is coming. So I just don't ahead of time go, hey, I see you're coming. Let's hang out. I put it in their hands because if I was in Boston, I would of course be like, hey, I'm coming to Boston.
Reach out, right? Immediately.
I reach out ahead of time so I can plan everything else around making time for my friends. I just go and I let it go. And of course she's down here the whole weekend. I see one post. And then nothing. And never heard from her. And I'm like, okay.
Right.
I see how it is. So this week, this is what a petty shit I am. I pretend like I didn't know she was coming, et cetera, et cetera. I see her make a post with a bunch of photos. And I'm looking at the photos. And I just comment on the post, that looks a lot like Fort Lauderdale. And that's all I say.
Like you didn't know.
Like I didn't know. But hey, that looks like Fort Lauderdale to me. Not like, hey, how come you didn't? Just the really passive aggressive, Gee, that looked like naive, almost naive sounding. Gee, that looks like Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
Because then she knows. She sees it.
Yeah, right. You know
sees
what
it,
you're doing.
and
She knows what you're doing.
She knows. Oh, I didn't fucking call him. I'm in the territory of catching major heat here. You know, I haven't heard from her, and she didn't acknowledge the fucking thing. So we may have one person that's dead to me this week. We'll have to find.
What you're saying is
What?
That's why you didn't want to have Marco on?
No. That's not. Oh, please. Trying to get Marco. I could three-way call him. That's a possibility. But
I just know he made his return to the wrestling world.
Well, here's the thing. He's been. We would know all about. Like, I almost commented the night that later that night when he was in Tampa at this thing,
Mm-hmm.
when Blake asked if Manny was there.
Right.
I almost commented, I could answer this question right now if I hadn't been uninvited to Tampa.
Right.
You know, but I'm leaving it.
You weren't even uninvited. You were just he didn't ask.
He was here. What was he here for? Was it football? He might have been here for football or something. And he mentioned that he was going to Tampa to set up an angle to start wrestling, set up a program to wrestle Gator Boone or Boone the Gator Hunter or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, Gator the Boone Hunter.
Gator the Boone Hunter, whatever it is.
Gator B. Long Jr.
I don't remember what his name is because you've butchered it so many times that I can't keep track anymore. He goes, yeah, I'm going to go up in a couple weeks. You want to go there? I go, yeah, probably. Yeah, just let me know. And then, the week, like the week of, I guess this last week, no word from him. Like, hey, I'm going at this time, yada, yada. You still coming? Nothing. And even to the point where I think my roommate on Friday is like, are you going up with Marco? I go, I don't know. I haven't heard from him. You know, and I said, I don't know. I haven't heard from him. And then he went up. And so now I'm like, I'm kind of just lurking around and I'm taking my little shots here and there. Cause it's like, hey man, you invited me. I said I was probably going. And then, a few days of, no word from you. And then you went up I don't know if he went up by himself. I don't know if he went up with his wife and his kid.
Right.
No, who would fucking know?
All we know is you didn't go.
Right. Right.
But
After being asked if I wanted to go, and me being like, yeah, I probably do. Just let me know.
That's my thing.
Yeah.
Even mentioned on our little thread anything about the show. We have no idea what happened. Like, he is not even forthcoming with information like, hey guys, here's what happened, the show, he was very vague in what happened.
I think he also knows it's coming from me. I think he doesn't. I mean, I think he's
avoiding it.
Yeah, but thankfully, I'm again, like we said, a petty son of a bitch. So maybe in concert with you, when we're done with this podcast, you could just innocently say, "Hey, we haven't heard anything about your trip up to Tampa," and then I'll jump in and pepper him with shots. But I need.
I'll set you up. I'll set up the lob.
I need a little bit of stuff. I can't go in like.
You can't go in hot.
I don't want to kick the door down. You know what I mean? Once I'm
I got you.
But once the door's been opened, I think I'm gonna. Yeah,
I'm usually a closer, but I'll play the setup man.
well, you could play set. You could open it and close it. I'll just carry you through the match and then tag you in for the pin. Yeah, I'll give you the hot tag for the pin. I'll do all the work.
All right. Yeah. I like this.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we're gonna fuck.
Well,
I want to fuck him.
Yeah. Speaking of wrestling, we've been talking a lot about wrestling on the podcast.
Well,
and I got to tell you,
by a lot you mean the last 3 shows,
right? But it's since the new format, since the drinking format has brought out a lot of wrestling talk, and it's funny because I went live today. I know you were on there. I saw you pop in.
Yeah, you're very lucky because I popped in. I think when you first went on, but then I popped in for like a brief second later when you were live, and I literally caught you plugging the podcast, and I said, okay.
See? I plugged it like 6 times.
No, but because you're the human disrespect machine, I've told you a million times, plugging it in a live to 200 people is
I get it.
worthless to me compared to mentioning it in your TikToks that potentially 250,000 people see.
No, but
and yet
those 200 people are the ones that they will listen. Like, they're going to listen.
You say that, but I would still rather take like 2% of 250,000 if you want me to be honest with you. And you just we'll get off of this and you can go on with your wrestling talk. But you refuse to just do it. You just refuse.
I forget. And then after I go, damn, I forgot.
So then record it again. Fuck you and record it again. It's a one.
Record. I'm a one-shot guy here.
Wait a minute. Well, listen, a lot of women can attest to that. You are a one-shot guy. But for the fucking 60 seconds it takes to record the video, shoot it again. Come on, man.
Can't do that.
Come on. You're really ranking up the fucking aggravation points with me,
okay.
And I'm just saying, it's not good to have a race car in the red. And right now, I'm a TNT laying motherfucker about to go nuclear. So,
here we go.
Yeah, that was kind of a quote from a movie you probably never saw. So
I never saw it. No.
Pulp Fiction?
No, never saw it.
Oh my God, I can't believe you never saw Pulp Fiction. That's like
I never saw it.
It's right up your alley. All right, so now please go on.
What I was
go on with whatever
really
interesting
story.
We've talked
a lot about wrestling the last couple weeks. And I went live today, and a lot of people started asking about wrestling. You know, because that video got some legs on it that I posted on TikTok. I posted on Instagram, and a lot of people started asking today. A lot of wrestling talk. Who have I wrestled? Who's my favorite wrestler of all time?
By the way, did you see I put your Pat Tanaka story on TikTok?
I didn't see it. No.
I chopped it into 2 parts. I love how you never see the Breakfast Club's TikTok.
No, it doesn't come up.
I love how you don't see it. Maybe you should give a shit. Anyway, go ahead. Please go back to your.
Anyway, you're fucking angry today.
I told you. It's been once I start getting petty. It's just like a snowball down a hill until I reach the bottom. So until I hit,
you're like the get off my lawn guy.
I'm not the get off the lawn guy, but I am definitely rolling down the hill, building and building. I'm about to smack into Marco when we talk to him later tonight. And until then, I'm just building momentum. So just you might have to duck and weave a little bit.
All right. Anyway, people were asking just some wrestling stuff. Like one question, which I thought this was a great question. First, somebody asked me what was the best match I've ever seen live. Good question. Solid question. I've talked about it before. Ricky Steamboat, Macho Man, somewhere in the 80s in Miami. Probably the best match I've seen live. But somebody said, if there's one match in wrestling history that you could change the outcome to, what would it be? I was fucking stumped. Like, I couldn't even think. Like, I never thought of that. Like, if there was a match that you could change the outcome. Like, that's a tough one, but
it is.
Somebody made a good point.
It's something you would have to, like, really sit and think through.
I couldn't answer the question.
Through the history
I literally could not answer the question.
Of, like, the last, 35 years. It's a long time of, relevant stuff that to think through,
But there was one good answer I thought was a great answer, and it was Undertaker losing the streak. And I was like, you know what? If I was Vince McMahon, I would have not had him lose the streak. I don't think it should have ended.
Well, but I understand that, but that's with hindsight. In the heat of the moment, when Undertaker's only wrestling once a year or twice a year for SummerSlam and WrestleMania, and he keeps talking about how he's retired, and Vince has to wave bigger and bigger stacks of money under his nose to have him come back, and you don't know when his last match is going to be, and you want him to do the honors, and he wants to do the honors, and everyone expects him to pass the torch and not retire undefeated at WrestleMania. That at some point you're like, well, now or never. I mean, and even though he wrestled, 4 more times after that? He literally wrestled 4 more times at WrestleManias and 6 more times total or whatever, So it's at any given moment, he could have been like, I'm done, or I can't get back into shape, or I hurt myself too bad, So that's a fair one in hindsight, but it's also at the moment no regrets going forward.
Right.
You
But
know.
I couldn't answer that question.
Yeah.
I was stumped.
Yeah, it's
Stumped on
hard.
that
It's
question.
hard because you have to think of it's almost like you have to sit and think of a match and the two people involved in it and some of the periphery around those people
Right.
and who they fought afterwards and imagine the trajectories if that had changed. And
Right.
so
What could have happened?
it's
So
a
much to go into that.
yeah, there's a lot of thought that has to go into it. It's not something that off the top of your head you can really answer unless you've been like dwelling on something forever. You know what I mean?
Now there was a second question,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I thought was a good question,
Uh-huh.
and I'm only asking because I want your answer to this, and I want people who are listening, I want them to think about it too. Is there any show or match that you wish you were at live? You wish you went to live? Any show, match in history of wrestling, one that you say I wish I was there.
It's funny because doing the autograph stuff with Jackie at the highest point of wrestling,
Right.
we were at a lot of those.
You were at them. All right.
I mean,
So
I like
would
here's
say
here like go ahead. What will you say?
WrestleMania 3.
I mean, yeah, but you were too young to. You have to take into account how
Right.
old you would have been when that. Would you have appreciated it? WrestleMania 3.
Right.
I was young for that.
I remember watching it on I mean, I remember my dad watched it on pay-per-view. We were at my grandma's house. Like I remember.
Yeah, but
Like
how old were you? 5?
what year was it? 80. What year was that?
I don't know. Because I was still a young.
Yeah, I was little.
I was still a young kid, and I'm like 10 years older than you. I was still a young kid for WrestleMania 4. That was a big deal because that was the first one we ordered at my house with Macho Man in the bracket winning the fucking tournament to win the belt.
Tournament.
Yeah. So a year earlier, I mean, and thinking 10 years younger than me, I mean,
no, I was young, right?
Yeah,
but,
so
that's the only one. Now, there was two people there's some good answers.
Yeah.
The two best answers were someone said, obviously a UK person said they wish they were at the SummerSlam at Wembley.
Right. With
They wish they had gone to that.
With British Bulldog.
Bulldog and Brett, yeah. And then the other person said Hogan Rock, which they said that was the
in
best.
Canada. That was in Canada.
Right. And
Vancouver,
that was Toronto.
Yeah.
Toronto, I think, right? And they said, the guy put it best. He said, that match was not a good match, but the electricity in that building.
The storytelling was great in that match.
Insane, right?
The wrestling was what the wrestling was, but that match was at that time period of wrestling, right then and there, was when the rest of the world was almost on purpose cheering contradictory to what the States were feeling. So like Vince wanted you to cheer a certain way for this guy and boo for that guy. And when you went like to other countries, they almost consciously as a decision did the opposite. So when they went to Canada and Hulk Hogan was in the NWO and was the heel and Rock was the baby face and they just said, nope, it's opposite day. And they booed the shit out of the Rock and they were cheering every time Hulk Hogan even like shifted his eyes. That match was so impactful because of the crowd that they decided to turn Hulk babyface the next night and brought the yellow and red back, and then he feuded with the NWO guys for a while. I mean, that changed. That match changed. That's one of those matches that did change the course of history, not by who won or who lost, but by what the fans, what the fans changed. So that would have been an interesting one to feel the energy of. I think there's a lot of buildings and a lot of circumstances where the energy might have been that powerful. Although, being that it was WrestleMania, there were a lot more people there. Like, but for example, I mean, I was at a lot of shows, so I was at a lot of I was at a lot of ECW shows. I was at those like my favorite live shows of all time, to be honest, are those that first run of MLW with Court Bauer when he was dude. Those shows in the War Memorial, Fort Lauderdale War Memorial. I went to like 4 of them. Were rocking, and he had the greatest fucking collection of wrestlers ever because it was
Right.
it was like a little bit after WCW and ECW were gone, so it was just the WWE. And so the
Right.
independent quote scene, which didn't have any big like promotions in it, but there were all these wrestlers up and coming, and then all these release guys. So I mean, you would have everyone on a show from Terry Funk and Norman Smiley and La
Carino, Barry
Parka,
Windham.
Carino, Wyndham, uh, Sabu, to also having on that same roster that night Sanjay Dutt, Samoa Joe, CM Punk. So it was like the perfect storm of veterans and the best of the best of the young guys that hadn't been signed to a big promotion yet. Those fucking rosters were tremendous. More in hindsight now, because at the time you're like, I don't know who CM Punk is, but he's pretty good. I don't know who Samoa Joe guy is, but looks like he's 300 pounds and moves like he's 150. So you were
Right.
like discovering all these guys at MLW that then you're like, a year or two later on Impact. Oh, look, that's that guy I saw at MLW. Oh, there's that guy I
Right.
saw.
Right.
Those shows were so cool. But like I was at the Georgia Dome the night that Goldberg won the title and had to beat Hall, Nash, and then Hall and
Yeah.
then Hogan. And
Right.
dude, the energy of that building that night, I would
Oh,
I would
his
like to
hometown, right?
put that on the scale and weigh it against that Mania you were talking about.
Right.
I
Right.
was Jackie and I were at the fucking building when Jarrett laid down for Hogan, and then Russo fired him, and then they had the Jarrett Booker match for the title, and then
Right.
you never saw Hogan again in WCW, and he sued him.
Right.
I was there for the
Were you there when Brock Lesnar came back at Raw in Miami
no. I was
the night after Mania?
by that point I was done going to live shows for a while. And
That place was insane. The building was shaking that
was
night.
that the day after Mania?
After Mania in
Yeah,
Miami? Yeah, the
That was
building was
that was
literally shaking.
that was the first of a string of night after Manias where Raw was like the place to be. It's not anymore
Right.
again, but that started a run of them. No, see, I was at the Mania, but I didn't go to the Raw and
Right,
SmackDown because I was already burned out.
I went to Mania and Raw.
We were burned out for going to Mania, going to the Hall of Fame.
I never told you that story.
Hold on. That was when Jackie got kicked out of the hotel for being too drunk, and as they were walking him out, he took the face bump, tripping over his own feet onto the right on the way out through the lobby in front of everybody. That was a tremendous weekend. But by Monday, I was fried, and I'm like, it's here in my backyard. Raw, SmackDown. It's already like I don't give a shit. So I watched it. I did watch it on TV and go, oh, I wish I was there because that like
the building was shaking.
Yeah, the building was vibrating. You could see it.
So
you could see it on the screen. Yeah.
Yeah, it was literally shaking. Like the stands were shaking. So I had gone with Chuck, and two things happened that weekend that were hilarious. At WrestleMania, we were like tailgating at Mania in Miami, and he has a barbecue, and Chuck goes to light this like little barbecue, and it literally explodes and engulfs his entire face, and everybody's like, "Oh shit!" And he's like, "Oh," he like backs up, and the smoke clears, and he turns around, and his fucking eyebrows are gone, like just gone, and I lost it. I was in tears. I couldn't breathe, and everybody's like, "What are you laughing at?" Because it was just me and him facing each other, and he turns around, and everybody's like, "Holy shit!" His eyebrows were just disintegrated.
Oh my god, that's funny.
And then the next night we go to Raw, and we're looking for somewhere to park, and I'm driving, and all of a sudden I look, and X-Pac is walking down the street in a tuxedo, and he's walking like towards us, and I roll down the window. I'm like, X-Pac, and he comes up to the window, and he gives in the car, gives everybody like a fist, like a pound. He gives everybody a pound, and he's like, "Fucking parking sucks here." He had to park like normal people and walk. He didn't even like get to go like in a secret parking lot or anything. He was literally parked where we parked, and he was walking.
Wow.
And everybody was like, X-Pac, But he came right up to the car, gave everybody pounds. He's like,
That's
there's spots down there. I was like, all right, cool.
that's hilarious. That
I'll
was
tell you the X-Pac story when after for the for IPW.
no, I don't know.
So X-Pac wrestled at IPW in Tampa. We're on the same show. We worked the Shane twins that night.
What year was this?
That were, oh man, it was early 2000. So it must have been right after WCW.
Okay.
Before he went back to WWE, maybe.
Okay.
He worked Mr. Perfect. That was the main event. It was going to be X-Pac versus Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig in the main event. And Sheen twins that night. And they were, what were their names in WWE? I forgot the
I don't remember.
Gemini. The Gemini.
Oh,
the Gemini.
they were the Gemini. You're right. You're right. Yeah, yeah,
Right. And then they were the Johnsons in TNA, which was the dumbest gimmick ever. Yeah. But anyway, we wrestled them that night.
So was that a dick
X-Pac,
joke? Being the Johnsons?
So X-Pac is going to wrestle Kurt Hennig. Now, again, right after WCW, I think it's before the WWE, they came back, he came back. So,
he came back. He probably came back when Hall and Nash's big money contracts were up with Time Warner and AOL. Remember, they whatever. NWO didn't come back at when Vince bought WCW.
I don't remember what year it was.
Well, I'm just saying, they had those big money contracts that they didn't want buyouts of. They just them and and Goldberg and all of them just sat and earned the money, and then the NWO came in a month and a year and a half later once those contracts were up. Right. So that's probably when they brought X-Pac back too, is what I'm saying.
Probably around that time, yeah. Right.
So maybe 03 or something.
Yeah, it had to be somewhere around
02,
there. I don't even know. That whole time frame is a blur to me. Anyway, yeah. So they start. I think we were like third to last, so we were towards the end too. And I don't know at what point X-Pac realizes he doesn't have his gear. He literally came to the show but had none of his gear. He knew he was wrestling. He was booked. No boots, no gear, nothing. So he's walking around the locker room going, hey, I don't have any gear. I don't have boots. What size shoes are you? What size wrestling boots? He's asking people as he's going along. Do you have extra gear? Kurt Hennig is livid. He's fucking pissed. Because he's like, how do you take this booking, come here, you got on a plane, you didn't bring your wrestling gear? And he was like, no, I forgot it at home. Just totally forgot. Now, I'm assuming a lot of drugs were involved back then, so, I mean, one can only imagine.
Right, but Kurt Hennig shouldn't be throwing too many stones at that point.
No, not at that point, because it was right before Hennig died, because this is that time frame.
It's a time frame of that story with you and Hassan.
Right, same time frame. So he borrowing one guy, a pair of a singlet from another guy. He's got basketball shorts on from someone else. He's borrowing an IPW T-shirt. He was mishmash together. They end up going out there, don't call anything, have an insane match, really good match. Because Hennig could still go, at that point. And they had a great match, but he literally had to borrow and Hennig was so pissed. When the match started, they got the ring. You could see Hennig was roughing him up a little bit. I think it was kind of you fucking idiot, don't disrespect me like that. Mm-hmm. Even though X-Pac was a veteran too, I think Hennig was pissed that he did that. But they had a great match. But yeah, he had to borrow stuff. It's funny though, telling you that story made me think of another situation. You remember Hack Myers, right?
Yeah. I didn't know him.
Hack Myers. Yeah. Okay. So he was an ECW, the original ECW. I think he was heavyweight champion.
I mean,
was he not an ECW?
I mean, probably at some point.
But the beginning of before ECW became ultra famous.
Probably before all the Taz's and RVDs and all
right.
that. Yeah.
Right. So we're at FAU in Boca Raton. We're running this wrestling show. It's outside. And coming up, and he's like, I don't have boots. So I'm in, we're next. We're after them. So like I'm in like kind of watching me and Eric, and he's like, "What size boots are you?" And I'm like, "Oh fuck!" Like in my head, I'm like, "This motherfucker is gonna use my boots to wrestle, then come back, have to take them off, giving me. I'm gonna have to put them on and go out next." Like anybody knows the time frame of that. It's not possible. Like the time frame of all this happening in perfect time is
Well,
not possible.
because lacing and unlacing and relacing again is like
Oh, it's a bitch.
time consuming
Right.
because they're like
Right.
there's a lot of holes and a lot of like work to do. It's not like they're
It's
not
a total
sneakers.
bitch to
They
do.
go up. How high do your boots go up? Like mid shin, right?
Oh, well, yeah, almost to yeah, right, almost to your knee.
Yeah,
So it's like,
there's a lot.
what a
That's a
bitch.
lot of
So
lacing, yeah, and unlacing and
right,
then relacing.
he's a veteran. He's a veteran at the time. I'm like young, so it's like I'm in a position where I can't say no. Like anybody in the wrestling business, like you would think, why wouldn't you just say no? You didn't say no
But also,
in the wrestling
why
business.
wouldn't you loan your boots to X Pac? I mean, he's not a bad guy.
Well, this was Hack Myers
Oh, Hack Myers,
that
right,
wanted
right.
my
Sorry,
boots,
sorry, sorry. Yeah,
but
that
still,
might be. Yeah,
Hack was respected.
right.
He was, I know he had been, ECW, and I know he was very well respected in the
I mean,
area. So if I said
he was
no,
kind of a South Florida guy, wasn't he?
right, right. But if
Right.
I said no, like it happened. Like talking about changing the trajectory of a career,
It wouldn't.
that could have been
Yeah,
the end of me.
it could have, but
So
it wouldn't have been
right.
okay. The only thing that wouldn't have been out of place is saying, "Look, my match is right after yours. See if anyone else
Oh,
has
I
them."
I said that,
Oh, okay, okay, all right.
and he was like, "No, you're a 12. Nobody else is. Like I need him now." So I take
Did
my
you
boots off.
did you hear that, ladies? He's a 12.
I take my boots off. I give them to him. He goes out there, he does the match. The match ends, and he's fucking lollygagging. I'm like, this motherfucker. So now I'm getting nervous on the like. I was nervous to say no to him because I knew what would happen if I said no. Now I'm getting nervous, going, our fucking match is next. They're gonna call us out there. I don't have boots on. I'll never be booked here again. Like I'm fucked either way here. Like I'm totally fucked. So he's like taking his sweet ass time, and he finally gets to the back. Now the other team is being announced now, so
he
I'm like, quick, quick, quick! Like
did he say
let's take the
anything
fucking boots off.
like I didn't realize, I forgot, or not acknowledge at all
Oh shit, no.
that he's
So I
sandbagging?
honestly, no, he didn't acknowledge it, but I also think part of it was he liked to play pranks and jokes and rib.
Oh, so he's
So I
ribbing
think
you.
at some point he was ribbing. He really needed the boots, but now he's ribbing me because he knows I'm in panic mode. Like, because I'm like, because like there was like some negotiation beforehand, and I was kind of like, but I'm next, and he's like, just give me the boots, and I'm like, I didn't just say yes, sir. Here's the boots. Like there was a little fight for him, so
Right.
now he knows I'm nervous. So he's slowly taking them off. The other team's going out to the ring, and I'm like, I'm panicking. And Eric, it was a tag match, and Eric's like, he's pissed because he's like, we're like assholes. So boots off, and our music hit. I'm like, oh my god! Now it's a really long walk to the ring because it's outdoors, and we had to come out from like a building into outside, and it's like on a baseball field or something. So I quickly put my boots on, but I can't. I don't have time to lace them. Like there's no time to lace them. Like our music's out. So I walk out to the ring with my boots not tied, like totally unlaced. I look like a fucking slob, and we're doing the long walk, and I'm panicking, and I'm going to Eric. How am I going to tie my shoes? Like I'm supposed to start the match. How am I going to tie my boots? Like at the ring, I'm going to look like a fucking moron. Like this is so stupid. And he's like, "You're an idiot. Why'd you let him borrow him?" I'm like, "Because
Right.
we would have paid the price if I didn't."
Easy for him to say, right? If you had
Right,
said
right.
no, you're still his tag team partner. He's still going to catch the heat from you saying no.
Oh, he wouldn't have caught it, of course.
Right.
So, so we get to the ring, and he's like, "All right, we'll stall." I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna sit here and tie my boots. We'll play it up because we were the bad guys." I was like, "This is easy." So I get in the ring, and we're like, the crowd's like, clapping. So I'm telling the guys who were working, it was Scott Commodity, and I don't remember his partner's name. And I'm like, "Hey, play up that my boots aren't tied. Like play it up." So they're playing up, like, "Come on, ref, his boots aren't tied." I'm doing like, "All right, hold on, hold on." Like I got to tie my boots, and like I start to tie one, I get blown up. I really was. I tie it. I finally get one boot tied, and
Are
the
you
crowd's like giving me the.
so are you when you're like doing your boots? Are you just like skipping it, like then just doing every third ring, or are you?
No, no, I was fucking lacing them up. They
You
didn't want to
fucking
break my ankle.
you fucking schmuck.
Right. So I'm like, I laced the first boot. They're still giving me the business. The crowd's like, booing
How
me,
much
and they're
time is
playing
this
it up.
taking?
At least anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes. I think we wasted. So they're like, at one point, like they're doing push-ups, and Eric is like hugging me and patting me, and like, finally I get both boots tied, and we're gonna start. And we start, and the ref goes, "You guys know you only had 12 minutes, right? Like the match was only supposed to be 12 minutes long. We're already like, I think we were somewhere in the 8 minute mark deep already.
Are they
Like,
are they filming this for TV or anything?
no, it was just an
So who?
outdoor show at
So 12
FAU.
minutes. Who fucking gives a
Right,
shit? Right.
right.
Still do
So
your
we
12
end up
minutes.
working the match.
Right.
This is the match. I think I talked about this before, where the match starts, and they go out into the crowd, and I look over, and they're fighting the fans. This is the same
Oh yeah,
match.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so we had to like hop the railing. They hop the railing, and there's a fight, whatever, with the fans, and
Who
it's the same match.
who got in the fight with the fans? Was the
It
other?
was the other two
Yeah,
guys.
it was the other two
Yeah,
guys.
right. So anyway, big fight with the fans. So the whole thing was a cluster from start to finish, because the fan fight, people had to be separated, and like we ended up going like 20 something minutes. So anybody that knows wrestling, like if you have a time, there's a reason. You have 12 minutes, you have 12 minutes. And the reason is because they want to keep the show to 2 hours, whatever it is. So everybody has a time so that it's, the end of the thing, it's 2 hours. If you go over, let's say there's a hard set that it has to be 2 hours, whoever's after you has to cut time. You've got to make that time back. Maybe the building needs you out at a certain time.
Right.
Maybe the city has a limit.
Or if little by little the people, excuse me, ahead of you all went over by a little bit.
Right.
Say you're filming or you're live on like broadcast, like someone before the main event might just get cut altogether. And then then you're gonna have then there's gonna be some fucking heat. Yeah, for sure.
Right. So anyway, thank God, they didn't have to cut anybody. They let everybody go. It's kind of just a, whatever show. But
Right.
yeah, that whole thing was a total debacle. Now, talking about time, I will say 20 plus years of wrestling, I always went over my time, because honestly, I didn't give a fuck. It was about me, not about the rest of the show. So
See,
I'm getting myself over.
this Mr. Disrespectful over here again. This is nothing new. This is just disrespecting everyone,
This is nothing
disrespecting
new.
the promoters, his fellow boys, the fans, everyone. It's just about him. The world revolves around him, not around the sun. There's
Right.
yeah.
There's only 2 times I cared about time.
Uh-huh.
If it's TV, if you're on television, you have to care about
Right.
time. So that one, yes. And the only other time I cared about time was when it was my own show, because I knew we had to be out of the building at a certain time.
Right.
So
they're like, you have to be out. Like, you cannot be in here 1 minute past midnight.
right,
Yeah.
right.
And you're
Right.
thinking like, oh shit, I only have 30 minutes as it is to break the ring down and haul all this shit out of here.
Right. So, right, those are the only 2 times I cared about time.
Otherwise,
But I used to go over my time all the time.
Because otherwise, like some of those buildings would be like, if you run over your time, you may as well just leave it because you've rented the next day.
Right. You're staying another night.
Right.
So those are the only 2 times I ever cared. Otherwise, I would go over time all the time, especially like towards the end of my career, we were doing like the pro wrestling turbo stuff and stuff for Johnny and Craig down in Florida. Like if I worked for Josh and TK, I remember one time they were like, I think it was the first show they ever ran, and they were like, hey, TK's like, here's your time. And I just looked at him. He's like, what? I'm like, I don't have a time. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, I don't have a time. You're not going to tell me how long I'm going and not going. He's like, he looks down, he scratches it off the sheet. He's like, you don't have a time. I was like, and then like the next, ever after that, every time I went back, he would never, TK, it ended up being just book your own matches and then book the other guys. And I would even tell guys, like, look, you got 12 minutes. You stay in the 12 to 15 minute range. Like, you got to get your shit in. You got to look good. and if the crowd's feeling it, you don't want to cut it off,
Right. But
So
if you get no response, go to the shorter side of your time.
right, go home, right,
Right.
right. And there was times when at Pro Wrestling Turbo when I was helping them book and stuff and I was running the back. I remember one match. I couldn't even tell you who was in the match. I'm watching it through the curtain and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is a fucking snoozer. Like,
Yeah.
and
Everyone's
I
sitting on their
grabbed
hands.
somebody,
Yeah.
right? So I grabbed somebody who was like, one of the helpers. I was like, hey, go to the ring announcer, tell the ring announcer at ringside, sneak over there and say, tell him to go home. He needs to tell the ref. So he went over and then he told the ref, hey, it's go home time. Well, they didn't listen. And the crowd is just like, and they're doing like high spot after high spot after. So I
Should have had the
told,
ring announcer go 2 minutes left. 2 minutes
well,
left. You know, like the
no, what I
time
told
limit.
Josh is I grabbed Powers and I said, hey, if they don't listen to what I just told them to go take it home, I'm going out there. He's like, you can't do that. I was like, why not? He's like, what are you going to do? I said, I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to run in the ring. I'm literally going to punch both of them. And the ref will ring the bell and it'll be over. So then he's like, no, don't do that. So he goes back and tells the ring announcer and they get the like ref's attention and the ref like sees and then they tell him and they go home. They got in the back and they're like, what happened? I was like, you're not like watching what we were watching? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, Jesus, that was like people were sitting on their hands. Like they went to the concession stand, and there's not even a concession stand here. Like that's how bad it was. And they're like, really? I'm like, you're so into doing 50 fucking high spots and getting all your shit in, you don't even realize there's a crowd that you're paid to watch you, and you suck.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like if you're not aware of the crowd, you're not wrestling.
No, right?
Part of wrestling is getting a read from the crowd and kind of contouring your match accordingly.
Right.
You're not like here's the whole match laid out. No matter how they respond to this, just keep plugging along and stick to the script. That's not how it works.
Not how it works, right? Right.
Oh.
And but also is like, I mean, not to go too deep into wrestling talk, but a lot of I was taught thanks to Billy. I'm gonna put him over for a second for once. But guys like Billy and Rusty and Flex, call it on the fly in the ring. Like I'm not the guy who likes to go in the back and say, I remember there was a guy show up with a notebook to the shows, and he would go, hey, did you get the email? And I'm like, what email? Like, well, I emailed you on AOL the match.
I love that because anytime anyone does that to you, it's just your response is, yeah, we're not doing any of that. It's just
and I'm like,
I love it.
Emailed it to me. Like they wrote out the whole match in a notebook, like sent me scanned it over to me in an email form, and then brought it to the notebook and was like, well, here's your script. And I'm like, you're fucking kidding me, right?
Well, here's two
like,
things.
What? I was like,
what?
Yeah.
How are they younger than you, aren't they?
Right. Yes.
So aren't you the ones that's really supposed to be calling the match?
But that went out the window with this new generation of wrestlers. They thought they were, not now. I'm talking about this is like the generation before now. They were just and I remember that day the kid gave me the notebook and he gave me the page and I literally just crumpled it up. I threw it in the garbage, and he's like, "Well, what are we gonna do?" I said, "Well, I'll see you out there in 10 minutes." And the kid's like, "What?"
Full panic.
So we get in the ring, and he's like, just like, looks like he saw a ghost. And I'm like, just listen to me, follow me. I will guide you and lead you. I'm really good at this. Like, just go with it. And I mean, they were fine.
Probably one of his better matches too.
Of course, because it wasn't scripted like that. But But
I see this when you could in the crowd when you watch those types of matches. The reason they're not aware of the crowd or listening and responding and adjusting to what's going on, depending on the emotions and the feedback you're getting from the crowd, they're tuned out because they're way too concentrated on remembering what's next. You could see it on their faces.
You can see it.
They're not emoting. They're not reacting to what just happened.
No,
their face
is
all scrunched or concentrated. You could see the concentration on trying to remember what's next. And so then there's no emotions in the match, there's no reactions in the match, and definitely no like listening to what's going on outside of
Right,
of
right.
the square, you know, of the ring.
It's funny, the match I had just posted. TK took some clips of this Pro Wrestling Turbo show from December, like 2 years ago. He had taken the clips and put it together for me, and I was watching, and I remembered that match. Uh, I was surprised. I dressed as Santa Claus. I hadn't been there in like months because Josh turned on me. That's when Josh turned on the Breakfast Club, and he beat me up and left me laying, and I disappeared for like 6 months. But when I came back dressed as Santa Claus,
Disguised as
and
Santa Claus.
right, yeah, right. And Josh had I came out with donuts and I gave them to Josh, and Josh was like, Santa gave me donuts. And as he's turning around to the crowd, like with the donuts, I take the Santa stuff off. The place goes fucking ape shit. When he turns around, I fucking spear him, and we start going.
Was
Well,
was Bobby Rogers involved with that show at all?
but it sounds like it was, right?
Well, because I saw
Because it was the
Christmas
tree
tree
match.
in the ring.
Yeah, it was a hardcore Christmas tree match.
Yeah, well, that's a Bobby Rogers match if I ever heard
It
one.
was, I know, but it was my idea because
Oh,
I took it from
right.
Bobby and I said, hey, why don't we do this? So there were 6 people in the match. 5 were announced, and the 6th announced was Santa Claus. So everybody thought that Santa Claus was in the match, but it was me. Great, I'm booking. I'm a brilliant booker, brilliant. So when we do the whole thing and the Santa Claus thing, we do the spot, but I didn't. Only me and Josh talked about this. The other guys in the match, I didn't even speak to them, like because I wanted to stay secluded. I didn't want anybody to see me. I wanted to be like super slick about this because I still believe like that part of kayfabe is to me is like hiding that kind of stuff is still cool because the genuine reaction from people is what you want, right? You don't want them to know you're there.
Right.
So anyway, I only talked to Josh. So when I got there in the match, these guys have no idea. Like, and I told them, like, call your spots with yourself. But, Josh kind of oversaw it, and then I'll pick my spots from there. So I just started grabbing weapons and just fucking whacking these kids. Like, they were so shocked. But one spot, you see it in the video, I get the kid and I tell him, I'm going to shoot you into the corner. Like, take the buckle. I wanted him to take the turnbuckle, and then I was going to run in and hit him with like a splash. But when I go to shoot him in, he lets go of my hand, and then he grabs me. So he was totally lost because he didn't get to call it. So I literally, watching the video, he grabs me, and he's like confused. I grab him by the shoulders, and I said, hey, I said, calm down. The whole crowd hears me. I go, calm down, relax. It's okay. And I just fucking super kicked him right in the face. And he had no idea any of this was happening. And we got in the back, they were like, that was so great. They're like, I was like, yeah, like he was too amped up. I literally grabbed him and said, calm down, relax. And he's like, okay. He's like, what's next? I just fucking kicked him
Just
in the face.
A mouthful of foot, yeah.
Mouthful of foot. Like I literally crushed him. And it's just like those guys don't know how to work unless they or talk about it 450 times beforehand. Now, is there some stuff you have to talk about? For sure. Like, I wasn't involved in it. And I said, hey, just tell me what the finish is. And they're like, the finish is, we're going to hit somebody with a power bomb. Me and Josh end up doing a tag move, but then we start fighting out and someone sneaks the pin. I go, that's all I need to know. Like, I just need to know where to be. Like, that's it. Don't tell me anything else. I really don't care. Also in that match, I got to find the clip. TK, friend of the Breakfast Club, me and him are in the ring at some point, and he has the Christmas tree, and he's on the second rope. And I'm looking at him like, what is he going to do? Because I was far away from him. And I'm like, what is he going to do? And he jumps off, anywhere near hitting me with this Christmas tree. Like, he misses me. Like, he lands like 3 feet in front of me. I just grabbed the Christmas tree out of his hand and just fucking chucked it at him. 2 hands through a Christmas tree and leveled him with it. And he was like, what the fuck was that? I was like, dude, like, first of all, you didn't say what you were going to do. And second of all, like, you didn't even come close to hitting me. You were like 3 feet from me. Like, what did you want me to do? Run at you? I was like, no. He was like, yeah, but you chucked a Christmas tree at me. I was like, yeah. He's like, it hurt. I was like, well, what do you want me to do? It is what it is. But that match was such a clusterfuck. But whatever. I don't even know. I'm going on a tangent. You shouldn't
It's
have me drinking through podcasts. This is
it's
insane.
it's not as big of a clusterfuck as Tomato Gate, so that's for sure.
Yeah, we should talk about that
I feel
one day.
have we not? Or
Mm-mm.
have I only talked about that with Marco?
We need to have Marco somehow on the show, or you know what? We don't need him on the show.
No, we
I
don't.
can do
We
it.
don't ever need him again, to be honest with you.
No, we can talk next podcast.
He goes right below Billy Fives on the band list. It's
Oh, yeah,
here's the list. It's number 1, Billy Fives. Number 2, Marco. Number 3, to be determined. So,
Right.
Yeah.
You don't get on our bad side.
Right.
Yeah. So.
But I'll make a note.
Yeah.
I'll write Tomato Gate. So I know.
We'll talk about Tomato Gate. We'll talk about Tomato Gate next podcast and how that all went down.
I'll tease people with some buzzwords. Here's the buzzwords for the Tomato Gate story: Tomato Gate, bowling ball, nail bread,
and
baloney, Judy Bagwell on a pole. That's
and a hot dog.
Yeah. So that's those are enough tease-worthy buzzwords.
Wait. Can we just say one more thing?
You can
one
say,
more tease word.
You can say as many as you want.
This word is going to get everybody to listen. Are you ready?
Pickle juice?
Porn star.
Huh?
That's it. Porn star.
Who was the porn star?
I can't tell you that. Then who would listen?
Was Johnny's valet at that show?
Who?
Trina.
There you go.
Okay.
Porn star.
Yeah. Okay. I did. She wasn't. Was she in Tomato Gate though?
No, but we murdered her that night, didn't we?
I don't remember. Honestly,
we did. We super kick dropped her on her head. We'll talk about it.
That wasn't the night that Blake wasn't there.
That wasn't the same night.
Was that the night Blake wasn't there?
I don't remember. No, Blake wasn't there for this.
That was when they brought the other guy in, and you yelled at the guy, "You're no Blake Chadwick."
That was the same night. Blake was not there. Right?
But was that also the night that Brandy Lauren was talking?
We're saying too much.
No. Was that the night with Brandy Lauren and Drew and the pickle juice?
Yes, same night.
That night was chock full of fucking stories. Oh my God!
So we'll talk about that night. We'll talk about that night next podcast.
Now I'm excited about Tomato Gate. Oh my
yeah, Tomato Gate.
Lordy Lord. Oh Lordy Lord. Yeah. That's gonna be a good one.
All right, I got nothing left. I'm winded.
Yeah, I could tell. You're probably also dreaming of food because you do.
I'm about to make macaroni and meatballs. So yeah.
Oh, you're making macaroni. Don't let it turn too sexy there, with your.
Well, what do you mean? What does it even mean?
You know, the stirring macaroni thing with the fucking TikTok.
Oh yeah, where they start hugging. Well, I did see something today that sparked me to make macaroni. It said, eating pasta doesn't increase your chances of weight gain.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of positivity I needed today. So I'm making pasta.
That's definitely fake news, my friend. But
yeah.
All right. Well, I'm
right.
done with you. How does that feel?
Good.
I'm done with you.
I'm totally
I stole your closing phrase. I'm done with you.
Yeah.
I'm done with you.
All right, Tomato Gate next episode.
All right, Tomato Gate. Tomato Gate.
Right, goodbye.
Okay, bye.